Hey, what's up there, YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer55551, and I am back with a review/thought video. And for this one, I want to give my take or my review/thought on the first season of Netflix's Devil May Cry, based off of Capcom's IP. And if you're interested in any part of this video you want to skip to, timestamps will be in the description of this video down below, so you can watch this either on YouTube or Patreon. And for parents out there, it's worth pointing out that Netflix's Devil May Cry is rated TVMA here in the US. Now, Devil May Cry is probably a very enjoyable and beloved franchise for gamers out there, especially who enjoy the single player or the action type of game. Originally, the series premiered on the PS2 back in 2001, and since then we've had around, I believe, 5 or 6 entries though. The first one is still a classic in my book, at least in my book though. The second one is not really liked by a lot of folks though, although I don't hate it as much as I used to back then. I still think it's the weakest entry though, but nevertheless, it's not the strongest one to be exact. Devil May Cry 3, which is a prequel to the first Devil May Cry game. Again, an enjoyable game, folks like that one. Devil May Cry 4, I feel like that one is better than the second one, but not as good as the first and third one. Ninja Theory's DMC or Devil May Cry reboot that happened though, it's considered controversial to some folks out there who didn't really like it. I enjoyed it. I thought it was kind of similar to my view of what I thought Devil May Cry 4 was. Better than the second one, not as good as the first and third entry in the series though. And I know this may sound political to some folks out there or may not 100% agree with this. I didn't have an issue with it being, anti-Rupert Murdoch, anti-Fox News, anti-Bill O'Reilly. And then, of course, you have Devil May Cry 5, the latest entry in the series, which is definitely good. Nevertheless, though, while I don't think it overtakes Devil May Cry 1 or Devil May Cry 3, I still think it's up there with those games, nevertheless. But as far as other multimedias of Devil May Cry being in, though, I have seen some ranging from basically from the manga that happened to the 2007 anime and all. And of course there was rumors at one point that a live action Devil May Cry movie was in the works. Obviously that didn't go anywhere, and I doubt we'll ever see that will ever see the light of day and everything. So it was kind of interesting to hear that Netflix was going to do their take on Devil May Cry indeed. Now, as far as Netflix goes with video game adaptations, I would say that they have done a pretty good job though. I do enjoy Cyberpunk Edge Runner. I did enjoy the Castlevania series that they have done. I thought Sonic Prime was not bad at all. And although I haven't yet watched this though, I've heard some good things about the Witcher series though. But at the same time, their use of turning shows from Capcom's IPs, I would say has kind of been mixed at best though. I wasn't really a fan of Dragon Dogma. I thought it was at least in my view. And I thought while the Onimusha one was an improvement over Dragon Dogma, I still didn't think it was exactly that great or anything like that. Although, if there's a silver lining, that is the fact that we did get a second Dragon Dogma game, and we also are getting a new entry into the Onimusha series. And then, of course, there was the Resident Evil one, which that didn't really last long as well. So I was a little bit cautious to see how Netflix was going to handle the Devil May Cry show, to be exact. And after watching all 8 episodes, I will say this. It's not perfect by any stretch though, but I will say as far as Netflix's use of Capcom's IPs, I would probably say this is probably their best one that they have done, to be exact. So I'm going to break it down into what I like and what I didn't like, mixed and not 100% sure about. In terms of what I like, I will say that I definitely like the fact that they do draw some level of inspiration from Devil May Cry 3 and all, as we see, Dante having, the look of him as well, including and also using characters like Lady in here and mentioning her dad and everything. So I definitely like how they drew certain inspirations from Devil May Cry 3, and I certainly don't think that's a bad thing. And I also like the fact that they have made references, or you see some Easter eggs here and there of other Capcom games. Like I saw like a Mega Man statue in one case, and then of course they did mention Raccoon City from Resident Evil, and even references I think to Borora Corporation, if I'm saying the name correctly, sort of a reference to Resident Evil 5 and all. So I definitely like those little Easter eggs that they put in the show and all, but I definitely felt like it did draw some inspiration from Devil May Cry 3, and I think that's certainly is not a bad thing at all. The other thing I want to talk about is episode 6, I would say, is probably my favorite episode for season 1, though. I do like the fact that we got a chance to explore basically not only the main villain and their backstory, but also Lady's backstory as well. And I definitely like the choice of art style that they used to tell that story, to be exact, though. So I thought that episode was done really well and all. So I think, to me, episode 6 is probably my favorite episode for season 1. And last but not least, I will say that the action sequences are pretty much done very well. I did like to see, some of the fight sequences we saw ranging from Dante in terms of taking on some of the demons to maybe even some Dark-Con soldiers to even some of the fight scenes with Lady as well too. So I thought the action sequences were done really good in Netflix's take on Devil May Cry and all. As far as what I didn't like or mixed or I'm not 100% sure about, I will say I am a little mixed with the rabbit villain in a way, as it seems as though you learn a little bit about him, how he was actually human, how he somehow managed to get his way into the demon world and then try to bring demons that were repressed in that world over to the human world and everything like that. But still, just a little mixed on him. To me, he feels like a disturbed version of the Easter Bunny to a certain extent, though, okay? So I don't really hate him. I hate the rabbit villain. I'm just a little mixed on that character in general. The other thing I want to talk about is that some of the choices of music that they used for season 1 or Netflix's take on Devil May Cry. I mean, there is some heavy metal music in here as well, since anybody who's played any of the Devil May Cry series knows that one of the music you normally hear, although different music here and there, but some of it is on like heavy metal or heavy metal inspire. And while there is some parts of that here, they also use a lot of today's music that we listen to. Like, I'm not bothered that they use Rage Against the Machine's Guerrilla Radio song, or even I thought this was an odd although I still think this is an odd choice, the opening with Limp Bizkit's Rolling song, which, like, wow, last time I heard that one was when I was in high school and all. But at the same time, there are some other songs that they use that I thought was just an odd choice for this show, like Crazy Town's Lady song or Butterfly. I think it was I forgot the name of it, but it was one of the songs from Crazy Town, to even Green Day's American Idiot. Again, I got nothing against Green Day. I like their music. I think Welcome to Paradise is one of my favorite songs from them and all, but I just think it was just odd to just hear their music in here. So it's sort of I'm sort of mixed on some of the choices of music that they used for Netflix's Devil May Cry. The other thing we know, and this one is might be viewed as political for some folks out there, is that some folks might be turned off in terms of somewhat of the political message, as you can easily spot to some degree that two of the characters, which I do think are probably going to be somewhat of like a villain to a certain degree, the president and the vice president of the United States, and the fact that Dark-Con has invaded, has set up a prison in, the underworld and everything like that. It sort of, basically the message almost comes off as a little bit as sort of a reference to Dick Cheney and George W. Bush, to even, the 2003 Operation Iraqi Freedom, or, the 2003 invasion of Iraq and all. So you can easily kind of spot that in this show and all. Again, to be clear, I don't have an issue with it. I was not bothered by it though. I tend to be very cautious when some folks tend to say that this show has a political message, as you know, there are a lot of shows that can have a political message here and there, but I can understand some might be turned off of it. But like I said, I'm not bothered by it in any way. And last but not least is that while I do enjoy the show, and I do think it was good in terms of Netflix's Devil May Cry show, I just don't think it's as good as the 2007 Devil May Cry anime, which I'm currently watching on Crunchyroll and all through, you know, my Amazon Prime Video and everything. Just because that one is more, I would say, more closer to the game, along with this art style and everything. It's not that I hate the Netflix adaptation. It's just that I just prefer the 2007 Devil May Cry anime. It's kind of similar to a view I have with 2017's live-action Ghost in the Shell starring Scarlett Johansson. I didn't hate that. I thought it was good. I thought they did a good job staying faithful to the Ghost in the Shell movie, though. But if you were to ask me if you asked me which one was better, I have to go with the anime Ghost in the Shell over the live-action Ghost in the Shell. Another example would be the Star Wars series, though. I don't hate the prequel or the new trilogy. I still think those two trilogies are good, but I also don't think they will ever overtake the original trilogy, to be exact. And that's kind of my view with the Netflix's Devil May Cry anime. Again, I think it's good. I just don't think it's going to overcome the Devil May Cry anime from 2007. Overall, I will say that I still came away pleased watching this show, and I will say it is definitely one of Netflix's better use of Capcom's IPs, though. At its best, though, I did like how they drew some inspiration from Devil May Cry 3. As I said before, episode 6 remains one of my favorite episodes of season 1, and I do think the action sequences were done very well in the show. But at the same time, at its worst, I was kind of mixed on the rabbit villain, the main villain from season 1. I was sort of mixed on some of the choices of music that they used for the Netflix's Devil May Cry. As I said before, I didn't have an issue with this, but I can understand some may be turned off by somewhat of a political message in the Netflix's Devil May Cry series. And as I said, I think as much as I enjoyed it, I still think 2007 Devil May Cry anime is sort of, in my view, I think it's better than this one. But either way, like I said, I still came away pleased with what I saw. I am very curious to see how season 2 is going to play out. Judging by some of the screenshots, it's possible they could draw inspiration from the first Devil May Cry game, and that sounds like the direction they may be going, but we won't find out until season 2 happens. Hopefully, maybe we'll see this series. Hopefully, I'm curious to see how season 2 plays out, and hopefully we'll see a season 3 or even more seasons of it. Although, this being Netflix, we know they have a history of canceling shows, that even ones that tend to be very popular. There are some exceptions, aka Stranger Things, Squid Games is another example. But in either case, I still enjoy this. I'm still looking forward to this one. Looking forward to season 2. But as I said, I don't see it as overtaking 2007's Devil May Cry anime and all. Okay, this concludes my review/thought video on season 1 of Netflix's Devil May Cry. And again, these are my opinion. What are yours? What are your thoughts about Netflix's season 1 of Devil May Cry? Did you get a chance to watch the show in any way? Did you think it was good in any way or in any form at all? Do you think this is one of better use of Capcom's IP that Netflix has done? Were you bothered by the rabbit villain or the choice of music that was in here, or were you even bothered by what many might view as a political message in the show in any way? Do you think this is as good as 2007's Devil May Cry anime, or do you think it's better than that, or do you think the 2007 Devil May Cry anime is better? Do you agree with what I said in this video? Do you disagree? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off in the comment section below. Let me know what you think. And if you do like this video, I hope you hit the like button. I would appreciate it. And I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do, Make sure you hit the bell icon for notifications of any new videos I put up. Also feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You could do it through PayPal Me, Patreon, or Steam Labs. Links will be in the description of this video, assuming you're watching this either on YouTube or Patreon. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that'll be soon. Until then, from Southern California, I wish you all a good day then. Bye!